everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a very exciting video because this is an idea that I've put off for the longest time. I think I started conceptualizing this idea in January, and that's also when I reached out to the authors for this video. But basically I've been putting it off because I have all the books. I had the books since like January, since I ordered them in January, but I just never knew what format I wanted this video to take place as, whether like a review, like just a conversational one. But as I've been doing more reading vlogs and becoming more comfortable with the format of reading vlogs and how my personal style for reading vlogs, I am deciding that I'm going to be doing a reading vlog, reading books recommended by my favorite authors. So I chose 3 of my most favorite authors that I would trust anything that they published, anything that they recommended, and I DM'd them on Instagram and asked them for books. If they could choose any book for me to read and buy right now, which book would it be? And I bought those books, and in this vlog you will be seeing me read them. I am super excited for this. I've had these books since, as I said, January, and I just have not read any of them because I was waiting to film this video, but I'm hoping this pays off. I'm super excited. Because I got to speak to some of my favorite authors who, fortunately, I know some of them, so that's really great. But another reason is just because I love anything that they write or anything that they, read as well. So all of these recommendations I basically purchased. I didn't even look at the synopsis so one of these books I already know actually, but most of these books I have not read the synopsis, don't know what it's about, and this is just the exciting part, to read a recommendation based off like your fave authors or like fave influencers, that kind of stuff. So anyway, let's get started into the video, and I will introduce each book as I mention each author. So the first book we will be starting with for this vlog is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This book was recommended to me by Min Jin Lee. Our first author is Minjin Lee. Minjin Lee is a Korean-American author who was born in Seoul, Korea, and immigrated to Queens, New York when she was 7. She has 2 published novels right now, Free Food for Millionaires, which I still haven't read for some reason, and Pachinko, you guys know, one of my all-time favorite books. Fun fact, she's also an alumna of my high school, and I actually got the chance to meet her and interview her for my school newspaper. And lastly, I just love her so much. I DM'd her and she was so sweet and returned my DM with the book recommendation of The Great Gatsby, which actually has an introduction by Minjin Lee, so she told me specifically to buy this copy that I think just recently released, but it basically has an intro by Minjin Lee that I can't wait to read. I'm super excited to read this one because I haven't read The Great Gatsby since high school, but I remember it being one of like my favorite classics of all time, and also because there is an Asian queer Great Gatsby retelling coming out this summer called The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nee Vo. I'll put a cover of it here, but I received an early copy of that one, so I'm pretty sure I really want to read The Great Gatsby to kind of re-immerse myself in the Great Gatsby world and then possibly pick up that retelling after. But anyways, I'm super excited to jump into my first recommendation, which is a reread of The Great Gatsby, recommended to me by my all-time fave, Minjin Lee. I'm excited to read her introduction too because I know there's so many editions of The Great Gatsby with so many introductions, but I'm excited to read Minjin Lee's words again. So anyway, let's get started into the vlog. So first order of business, I have watered my plants. I have 2 plants. This one right here is a string of bananas, and this one is a golden pothos. I'm not like a plant expert, so all I do is I just wait till they're like completely dry, like the soil is completely dry, about 2 inches in, and then I water until water starts seeping out from the bottom. That's how I water both of them. This one's been doing really well. It was super short in the beginning, but this is my pothos, one I just recently got, and I think she's doing okay. I mean, she looks fine, but yeah, that's how I water them. And I also gave the plants a little spray of water because they get kind of like glossy, and I don't know, I just saw people do it. But yeah, those are my plants. I thought I would show you my plants because if you're a plant mom, you understand. But okay, so I just finished the introduction by Minjin Lee. It was actually a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, and after reading it, I'm just so happy that that Minjin Lee chose to recommend me this book, because first of all, it's been a long time and I think I've been due for a reread, but also because the introduction was super interesting. I've never read an introduction like this, but definitely I feel like it was a combination of Minjin Lee's like own personal story and why this book has so much meaning to her, but also like kind of like a literary analysis on The Great Gatsby and some of her own lessons that she's learned through it. There are some really interesting things that I like highlighted. But first of all, I just want to say I have so much love for Minjin Lee. When I was interviewing her, and just like when I was, just every conversation that I've had with her has just been her imparting like wisdom and so much to learn from her own story of like writing. And I think that's like some of the best tips I've learned of writing from her. I really love this part where she talks about like her writing and how like she uses kind of Fitzgerald's own here, I teach writing and my students ask me what they should write. I tell them to write about the things that trouble them the most. Why, they ask? The subjects that keep you up at night will keep you at your desk, I reply. And then she relates it to how some of Fitzgerald's, like what impacted The Great Gatsby was some of the things that were like troubling him in his own life. And she talks a lot about his like history and everything, and it's super interesting because it's a lot of stuff that like I didn't know. And obviously when you read The Great Gatsby in high school, a lot of people, you're not really interested. You're more interested in the story than you are in like the author themselves. So when I was in high school and reading The Great Gatsby, I didn't really like do a whole Google search, or wasn't really interested in like his history and his relationships and how it impacted the novel. I was just mostly interested in the characters itself. But it's interesting to see how kind of life informs like what we write. And I mean, I'm a creative writing major, so I'm pretty much not going to be doing like a literary analysis of The Great Gatsby. I apologize. I'm mostly just going to be looking at like the writing. I'm gonna take a lot of what I read in the introduction, and also just like having a nice wholesome reread of The Great Gatsby, because I haven't read this book in almost like 5 years. So yeah, please don't expect like a literary analysis about this book, because once again, this is like my 3rd time reading it. Minjin Lee mentioned that she's read this novel so many times. I'm probably not going to be able to look at it in the same lens, but I will try my best to highlight some things that I like learned in school and that I, you know, am bringing up again. But anyways, I'm going to finally about to start into the actual novel, The Great Gatsby. Once again, excited to start. So I will keep you updated on the novel itself. Hello, it is later in the evening and I've read a little bit of The Great Gatsby, but that's all I'm going to read for today. I'm almost halfway through and I'm just going to put a stop to it because it feels so weird going from reading a bunch of like diverse novels from like marginalized voices featuring like diverse characters to like going back to like the literary canon, white male, like just this story is like totally different. Like I'm reverting back to the past, and it just feels really weird. Also, one thing that I like to point out is that I am like unconsciously recalling images from the movie. So I watched the movie after I read the book in high school, and just like as I'm reading it now, I'm just like unconsciously like thinking of scenes from the movie. I did love the movie, and it was really good, so I'm just thinking about that. It's just really weird. I'm not going to say I'm enjoying it because I would literally rather be reading anything else, but this is definitely one of the classics that I could tolerate. High school me, who uses Spark Notes all the time for like the quizzes and my essays, is quaking right now. Literally, like 16-year-old me using Spark Notes, or like, I don't know, those other like things, and like looking up, what does this mean? What did this symbol mean? Like literally quaking right now because I'm reading this as an adult. It's super different. Also just reading this book, it just reminds me of like the shitty portrayal of women in The Great Gatsby as like gold diggers and materialistic. Like all of the women in this book are kind of like one-dimensional, like they're like cardboard cutouts or caricatures, really just flat. And that's why I'm so excited to read Nevo's retelling, The Chosen and the Beautiful, because it follows Jordan Baker as an Asian queer immigrant, which I think that's just, first of all, that's like a beautiful thing, finally, to get this representation from one of the female characters in the book. If you didn't know, Jordan is Daisy's friend, Nick's love interest for a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited to read that retelling, or like, you know, reimagining of it, because, and it also includes like fantasy and it's a little bit of magic. I'm super excited to read it. God, I just want to finish this book so I can move on, you know, like I feel like I'm just kind of over it at this point, but at the same time, like, it's kind of nice. The only character I can really tolerate in this book is Nick. Like, that's it. Like, Tom, like, no, get the hell out. But yeah, I will keep you updated on my experience. Hello everyone, it is 5:30 now and I have just finished The Great Gatsby, which is my first novel in this reading vlog. Overall, I'm not going to go into much about this because it's a classic book, The Great Gatsby. I think considering that I haven't read a classic book in 4 years, it was just like a very out-of-body experience to go back into this sort of experience. Like, reading a classic book is an experience in and of itself. I think it just reminded me of high school when we were like force-fed this book and told to like analyze every single sentence and every single paragraph, and that's why it just brings back some dark thoughts. But it also is just like, I feel like reading this book for the third time, it was kind of like less enjoyable because I was like, okay, now there's no way I can read this book for like fun and entertainment. That being said, I did really appreciate the symbolism in this book. I think with a lot of classic books like that we're told to read like in high school, I think the reason why we like read them but also like analyze them is because of the like just the use of symbolism and the use of symbols, which I can appreciate a lot with this book since there are some good symbols. I would definitely recommend this edition if you are a fan of Min Jin Lee. Min Jin Lee provides a very historical analysis but also literary analysis that kind of reveals a lot of information about the author's like past and the author's history, and how that has kind of played a part in his writing of the book, which I thought was really interesting. Also, I will just read anything that Min Jin Lee writes, so I really appreciated that it was a very thorough and long introduction. But overall, reading the book, I was like 3 stars. Like, what can I say? I enjoyed it, and reading it brought a lot of stuff back that I had learned in high school that we had discussed. But overall, it was just like kind of like I really wanted to stop reading it because I was just like, I really want to read like something else. But anyways, jumping into the next book by our second author. The second author that I DM'd was Brandi Colbert. So our second author is none other than the lovely Brandi Colbert. She is an award-winning author of several books for children and teens featuring Black characters. Some of my favorites include Little and Lion, Finding Yvonne, you guys have probably seen these before, The Revolution of Bertie Randolph, and her most recent title, The Voting Booth. Also, can we just appreciate her cover artist because her covers are the most just consistent and beautiful. She currently lives in Los Angeles and is on faculty at Hamline University. She has recommended me to read The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha, Philia. When she first told me to recommended this to me, I was so excited because I had never heard nor seen this book before. So I always get excited when I like get recommended new books that like are just completely outside of what I usually read, because it's just making me a much more well-rounded reader, exposing me to new genres and such. So I'm excited. I'm gonna start this right now. It's 150 pages, so I'm probably gonna fly past this. And recently I've actually been seeing it all over my feed, like on Bookstagram, like on other people's feeds, and it reminded me that I had to do this video, that I was still saving this video. So anyways, this book, super excited to get into it, don't know what it's about. Thank you so much, Brandi, for recommending it to me, and yeah, I'll update you once I start reading. Okay, I haven't read all day, but I'll show you what I've been doing instead. I took an Instagram photo for a giveaway that I have to do for a publishing company for a book called Tokyo Ever After. So this is just my setup. I already took the picture, but look what I did to the tapestry. And yeah, I've just been taking the photo for the entire day. This is just a glimpse into how I take photos. I'll maybe show the published one if it was already posted in like a screenshot here. But yeah, cleaning up is the worst part because now I have to put all these books away on my shelf. Sucks, but yeah, that's how I take Instagram photos. I had to move the entire living room to make room. Hello, it is super late and I did exactly what I told myself that I would stop doing, is staying up late to read books. But anyway, I am more than halfway through The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, and let's give it a moment, because like the reason why I did this whole idea was because I wanted to find some new books, and I just wanted to find some new authors that I would love to read, and who better to trust than the authors that you love to read from and like just asking them for your book recommendations. Like, just this book is amazing. It is super easy to get through. It is like really short. It is split up into like mini stories. So let me see how many are in here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 short stories in this book, and they are just basically what the title of this book is. They are the secret lives of Black church ladies, and like just all of them are so different and unique. It's literally like insane, and like each story, they vary in length. So like one story is like 3 pages, and then another will be like 20 pages. It's like I can't get enough. Like the stories end and it's just so bittersweet because I'm like, I want more. I want a whole book about these characters. Like, this is insane. I am so happy. Thank you so much, Brandy, for recommending this to me. I also think something that a lot of the characters are super different. But I know some of the characters, like some stories feature queer Black women, and I think it's just amazing to read about that. And I think about how also like sexuality plays a role in like religion as well, because it is like the lives of church ladies. This book is just amazing. Like, I love it. I can't wait to talk about it more. Can't wait to read. I honestly, like, I swear, like, I was just sitting there outside reading and I was like, I could just like keep going. Like, I could just never stop and keep reading, but I should probably call it a night since it's like 2 a.m. But this book is just so good. I can't wait to keep reading it. I honestly just like want to read all of it. It's super fast to get into, but pick up this book. Oh my god, it's so short. It's beautiful. Just, I can't. Hello everyone, so I have finished The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha, Philia. I finished this like last night, but I just wasn't able to film an update, and I was just waiting so I could film an update about this before I started my next book. But anyway, I'm gonna do my night routine. As you can see, I'm fresh faced from the shower. Don't judge me. I literally can't see anything because I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can see like my notes here, but it's gonna be a trial. So anyway, I'm gonna just like take you on my night routine. So first I use the Proteini polypeptide cream from Drunk Elephant. I remember this is like super expensive, but I remember that I had a tester for this, and that's kind of what that's how I like started using it. And then yeah, they last a really long time, so it's actually kind of worth. Oh no, I'm running out. Oh no. Okay, anyway, so let's get into a little wrap up. So essentially, what this story is it is a collection of 9 stories following different Black women and girls along like different generations, different ages, as they are kind of navigating their life, exploring their desires, sexuality, and love life beyond their faith. So it's basically like the title, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, but they kind of like explore their lives beyond like being good or what is typically expected from church ladies. I have never read a book like that. I haven't really read many books with short stories, just because like I don't know, I feel like I just don't gravitate towards short stories. But this collection, because I didn't know it was short stories and because someone recommended it to me and I didn't really have a choice, I read it and I really loved it. I am kind of sold on short story collections now. Like, I kind of want to just like look for short story collections. If you guys have any recommendations for short story collections, let me know in the description, in the comments. But anyway, this book was just amazing. I felt like all the voices of the characters, like the different women and girls, were super distinct. They were kind of exploring their sexuality and desires, kind of like they were like, it was like unwavering. It was just very like inspirational and very like heartwarming to read about. So anyway, a few notes that I have here is I loved how the stories varied in structure, form, and voice. So they weren't like the same narrative stories. I think one was written in a letter and another was kind of like written in like kind of like a letter, but like listing stuff. I really love that because it kind of broke up the different stories. Also, they varied in length, they varied in voices. It was just guys, like, this book was amazing. Another thing that I really loved was it explores relationships. I think a lot of relationships that we don't see, especially when it comes to, like, when I've read books about, like, church or, like, religion, is exploring the mother, daughter, father, daughter, and sister relationships, which I feel like this book did so well because all of the characters varied in, like, they talked a little bit about their relationships with their parents and their siblings. This was a really refreshing read. I just feel like I have never read anything like this. It's super short, so, like, I feel like I would just recommend you to just buy this book, to just, like, buy this book and read it, because it is so short and it is totally worth it. Like, after each story you're gonna wish that you had more of each story, and that's kind of how I felt. I was just like, so after each story I was like, because you don't know how long each of them are, they kind of just end at one point and you're like, oh no, like, I want more of it. And my favorite story, if you've already read this short story collection, my favorite story out of all of them was Peach Cobbler. I think that was, like, my favorite. I read it twice, actually, because after I read it, I read it again because one of the characters, I think, shows up again in another story. It's kind of confusing, but I read that one again. So that was interesting. This book is also actually a lot more, like, steamy than I thought it was going to be. I guess I didn't know what I was expecting, really, but it does really explore kind of sexual desire and sexuality, which I really love because we have some queer black women in this book. Overall, my thoughts, 5 out of 5 stars to this collection, 100% worth it. Brandy, thank you so much. This is why I love your books. This is why you're my auto-buy author. I will literally read anything that you put out as if she's watching this video. But anyway, Brandy, thank you so much for recommending this to me. I absolutely love it, and this is exactly why I'm, like, doing this video, to learn some new books. But anyway, so the next book that I will be reading is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This was recommended by Samantha Shannon. And last but not least, our final author of this video, Samantha Shannon. Samantha Shannon is an English writer and author born and raised in West London. She's the author of the infamous Bone Season series. Yeah, the one I won't shut up about on this channel. It's set to be a 7-book series with only book 4 out right now, so I have a feeling you'll be hearing about it for years to come. And then her most recent release, The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I still have not read yet to this day. But anyway, Samantha Shannon is one of my favorite authors, and I was so excited to talk to her. And this was recommended to me. I know she reads a lot of diverse fantasy books, so I really was hoping that she'd recommend a fantasy book so I can read it for this video, because I love how all of these books are kind of in different genres. So anyways, Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I've never heard of this book as well, which is also such a great thing because I love these recommendations. But apparently this is a Mughal, India-inspired, South Asian-inspired fantasy. I haven't read the synopsis yet. I'm excited to dive into it. I really hope this is going to be great since I do believe it is a duology. So I'm hoping if I really like this book, I can get the second one and finish the collection. And I'm excited to share this with you guys. So I will be starting this tonight and I'll update you, of course, when I start reading. So I was able to start Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I am about 100 pages in, a solid 100 pages. And overall my thoughts, first of all, I'm going through it really slowly. One, because it's a fantasy book and I'm a slow reader in general. So with fantasy books, I tend to overcomplicate things in my head, and then it's an even slower process, and sometimes I get really confused. I bet a lot of you can relate. I don't know how I feel about the main character yet. Basically, essentially this main character, Mare, she is the daughter, the illegitimate daughter of this governor, this high nobleman, but she has the blood of Emrithi, who are these people who are, like, very persecuted in this kingdom, the Emrithi. So she's part Emrithi because her mother was Emrithi, but her father is not, and he's, like, because of his place in the kingdom and he's a governor, he sort of has a sense, because of her father's privilege, she has this privilege, like, protecting her against being persecuted, and I think that's super interesting because a lot of the times throughout the novel, especially in the first 100 pages, she very much wants you to know that she is self-aware and that she is aware of her privilege and that she's protected by her father's name, whereas most people who are Amrithi don't have the privilege of, you know, living lavishly or living wealthily. So I really like that about our main character. She's also super selfless, although just some things just like, I don't know, I'm not like connecting with her 100%, but I can definitely see how I might be able to read more and just love the main character. Although I am loving the world and the writing. I think it's very luxurious, very rich, very detailed, and it reminds me of City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. If you guys have read that, and she blurbed it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to see where this fantasy goes. I really hope it picks up. I think it's starting to pick up because we're at a very tenuous part of the story. But anyway, I'm enjoying it so far. Hello everyone. Okay, I wanted to show you what I was working on in my class. I'm taking photography 2, which is an advanced photography class. And basically what I'm working on is I'm making kaleidoscopes. We get to kind of work on a project the entire semester. So I'm making these kaleidoscopes. So this is the mirror that I just finished. And we're making kaleidoscopes, and then this is the image that I'm going to put in the kaleidoscope. This is a cyanotype of a dinoflagellate species that I studied in the lab. It's super cool. Look how well it turned out. But this is just a photographic process using like solutions. And yeah, I'm super excited to see how this turns out. Hello everyone. Well, the last time I updated you was like 2 days ago because I actually got my first dose of the vaccine yesterday, and I knocked the fuck out yesterday at like 9 p.m, which is not my normal bedtime. I sleep usually a lot later, but I knocked the fuck out when I was planning on reading, and I was trying to get through a chunk of it. But I read some today during the day. I am about halfway through now, maybe less than halfway through. To be honest, this book is like not my mood right now. I really just like am not in the mood to read, and yet I'm trying to read this like really high fantasy. So the book is starting to pick up because we finally arrived at this place that they were kind of journeying to, and I think it's just slow because there's a lot of this entire story is like shrouded in secrecy. There's this like secret motivation of one of the characters or of the people in charge, like the emperor. There's like a secret motivation behind everything, and like we don't know what that is. Like it's not revealed to us. It's been like 200 pages and it's not revealed to us what that is. And like, so for me, there's nothing keeping me reading, you know what I mean? Like I wish they would just like dangle it a little. Like all we know is that there's something to figure out, but like we don't know what that is. We don't know what the stakes are. I feel like the stakes just aren't high enough for me. I am still continuing to read though, not because I'm just filming this vlog, but because I really love the main character. I think she's one of the most self-aware protagonists I've ever read in a fantasy book, especially with like so much shit going on in this world. How she has the time to be able to process her own feelings and thoughts, and like also her own privilege, which is something I mentioned before, but she's just able to like remarkably like always just take a minute and process her feelings, which some people could say is unrealistic for like a fantasy novel. But honestly, I think that's just really great character building, and I can't wait to see her arc. I'm really excited for the main character and also one of the newest characters I just met. But overall, it is just a kind of slow for me, and I wish the stakes were a little bit higher. But I'm going to dinner right now, so I will read some more tonight. But the next time, I swear, the next time you see a clip of me, it will be wrapping up this book and wrapping up this entire vlog, because it's been a week now and I still have not finished this video. So I will catch you up. Ugh, I am so ready to close out this vlog. This vlog has been long enough, but alas, I have finished Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri, and I have some words with this book. So this book, I went into it literally knowing nothing, and I feel like with most fantasy books, I'm fine doing that because I feel like it evidently just surprises me. But I think for this book, I think it just confused me because we're moving through so many different parts in this novel. I feel like this novel could have been split into 2 different novels and I would have been like perfectly fine with it, and it would have honestly made more sense to me. because despite having all of that happened, I think what was really lacking in this book for me was the pacing. And I think I kind of understand why the pacing was a little bit slow. A lot of this novel is built off of the construction of like abstract concepts, so like devotion, faith, power, those are all really abstract concepts that are focused on in this book. And I think because the author was taking so much time to explain them and kind of construct them, things came off a little repetitive to me, but I knew they were for good reason for helping, because it really was easy to understand. Like, I think that's something that I am very thankful for, because I feel like if this book in a different world, like if it was written really fast-paced and hard to understand, I think the concepts would have kind of just went over my head and I wouldn't have enjoyed the story. So I am rating this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think the first 300 pages, it was hard. It was definitely very slow paced, and I was trying to read as much as I could, and no matter how much I read, I felt like I wasn't making much progress in the book. I think what really saved it from a 3 stars was definitely the last like 100 pages, where I felt like that was where all the action was happening. I felt like this novel could have been a lot shorter. But I felt like the last 100 pages was where kind of all of the action happened, and it got a little more fast-paced, and I was flipping pages back and forth in those last 100 pages, so that definitely saved it for me. Also, what saved me is just this relationship, or this bond that the author creates with the main character and her arranged marriage husband. This book is definitely so complicated, it's so lush, that I don't want to explain anything because these vlogs are mostly non-spoiler for the most part, but I would definitely recommend this book if you were looking for a really lush fantasy that takes place in a very unique setting, deals with very abstract concepts. I know a lot of times in fantasy books, at least for me, the world building is very like physical, like it's always just like a physical manifestation of like power. It's like, could be the elements, could be something else, but I think this one was a really unique novel because it played with some abstract concepts, and that was kind of what the magic system and the world building was based off of. Yeah, overall, I think this was a really interesting book. I really did like it. I just felt like some parts for me, like I think upon a reread, I would definitely get a lot more out of this than I did. First of all, the POVs were kind of inconsistent. I know it follows like our main character, Mare, but then it like shifted sometimes, like it included some POVs of some side characters that really didn't play like a huge, they did play a huge role, but then I feel like it was only one chapter of the POV from that person, and then we never heard from that person again. So that was an interesting writing choice. I love the main character in this book. I think Mare is the most self-aware and selfless protagonist that I've ever read in a fantasy book. She's so selfless. Also, huge content warnings for physical abuse in this book, physical abuse and violence. That's really heavy in this book, and I feel like I didn't know that coming into it, and it was kind of jarring, so definitely keep that in mind when you're about to read this. But overall, I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, a solid fantasy read that I think is quite unique from the other ones that I have read. I just had a few things that I was really nitpicky about, but that does not take away from the beauty of it, and also just with the wonderful setting of this. A South Asian inspired fantasy. It was so beautiful. Like, it wrapped me up, and it was just a lot more different than what I've been reading, especially in fantasies. Alright, so that is it for my 3-book vlog. I can't believe 3 books took me that long to film, but it's been over a week since I started this video. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so just happy that I did this because I fell in love with so many new books. I fell in love with new ways of thinking about books and thinking about like what books I like to read and what genres I like to read from. So yeah, let me know in the description box down below if you've, not the description box, in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts about them were. Thank you so much to the authors that are mentioned in this video for just being great, for writing really great books, and also just for giving great recommendations as well. If you would like, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.